Greetings, Unhidden Voices family, and welcome to episode 23. Very excited about this episode. It's an outgrowth of the work that I've been doing with the National Science Foundation to look at the teaching of Black women teachers. And what we did was we designed a fellowship and put out a call on social media, and we actually got about 50 applications for 25 fellowships. Each of our fellows will receive $1,000. They also will have the opportunity to build a community with us where we're focusing on what we can learn from Black women as educators in the past and present and in the future. So excited. So today we're just going to talk about the fellows, the applicants that we received. We're also going to be providing more information about how you can partner with us, even if you are not. You may be a Black woman, you may not be, but you are welcome, no matter what your race or ethnicity or background, gender, to join us for the Multicultural Education Conference, which is happening on March 20th. It's a virtual conference. The conference will have a guest speaker, which is Dr. Bettina Love. Dr. Bettina Love is the founder of the Abolitionist Teaching Network. She will be talking to us from our theme for the conference, which is Lifting as We Climb, which is based off the motto of the National Organization of Colored Women, which was an organization that was founded in the 1830s. Women such as Mary Church Terrell and Ida B. Wells were a part of this organization. They were Black women suffragists and also Black women fighting for educational freedom and rights for Black people in this country. So we are turning to them, we're turning to our ancestors because we also are in a moment where we have to climb out of double pandemics of COVID-19 and anti-Blackness, and also the widespread white supremacy in this country. So we are excited to share with you more information about the conference, more information about the fellowship, and just to provide an opportunity for you to learn more. So our guests today are folks who are partnering with me to co-facilitate the fellowship. That's Dr. Dale Allender, who you have had an opportunity to learn more from. He is featured in episode 18 and also in episode 10 of this podcast. So if you haven't already listened to and learned from him, please do. He's a colleague of mine at Sacramento State University. Another colleague at Sacramento State University is Dr. Malika Hollenside, who is a professor in the Teaching Credentials Department at Sacramento State. And alongside both of them is Igosa Hamilton. Igosa is a doctoral student at the University of San Francisco in the International Multicultural Education Department, and she is also a graduate student researcher for our research project that we're doing, funded by the National Science Foundation, which is where this fellowship comes from. And lastly, Maha El-Sanbawi is my research coordinator. She has been working along with me to support the research that we're doing as we look into specifically the practices of Black women, the things that we can learn from them that will help us to support Black girls, and to also provide more information about what it means to teach and have equity strategies that will support Black girls in STEM, and hopefully develop more folks into the computing and workforce, computer science workforce. So that's the goal, and we're very excited. We're excited for this opportunity. We hope that you will join us. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to this podcast. Follow us. If you're listening to this podcast, you should also join us on YouTube and like us and subscribe, because we are also going to be doing live versions of our live streaming our podcast. So please continue to listen, learn, and amplify with us. This is so wonderful. So shout out to everyone that's here, and this is the fellowship committee, the fellowship planning committee, and also the facilitators. So as I mentioned, I've already, everyone that did the introduction, they will have, my formal introduction of you. But let's begin with each of you kind of introducing yourselves and just talking a little bit about what role you're going to play in the fellowship. And so I'll tag the first person, and then you introduce yourself, and then tag the next person until we all go. All right. So I'm going to start with you, Malika.
Greetings, everyone. I am so excited and honored and humbled to be a part of this profound experience. I am currently a professor at Sac State and starting this semester, Sacramento City College. At Sac State, I work in the credentialing department. I will be working in the capacity to provide some enriching historical background of Black African-American women in U.S. education. And I look forward to exploring and learning much more about little known figures of greatness that have contributed to our history as Black American educators. I'm very excited to work with all of you. Aitagigosa.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Igosa Baizamawa Hamilton, and I am super excited to be part of this team. I am finishing up my first year in the IME doctoral program, and I have 14 years of experience as a secondary educator. I think as a Black woman in education, being in a space where we get to highlight a group of people that are often erased, I think is really important. And I'm looking forward to giving visibility to such an important group of women today. So my role is to be on the support team as a grad research assistant. I will tag Maha.
Hi, everyone. My name is Maha, and it's my honor to be part of this team. I mean, it's a real great thing what we're doing here, and I'm so happy to be part of it. And my role is that I'm the coordinator of this research, and yeah, I hope that I will bring also the right to those who have rights and did not have, and just to bring them the rights that they deserve. So I'm hoping that this will happen. And I'm tagging Dr. Dale.
Thank you, Maha. I'm honored as well in many different ways to be included amongst you all to be working on this particular project. I'm honored because part of my role in this project is honoring my family. I'm an associate professor at Sac State in College of Education, but my area of interest really and scholarship has always been in critical media literacy, disinformation, multicultural literature, multicultural literacies. It was from there a natural extension to get into ethnic studies. What I learned with ethnic studies is that it's an autobiographic discipline. You have to root yourself in yourself, right? And in doing so, I uncovered my Black teacher lineage and how that was primarily a Black female, Black woman teacher lineage. And so I'm honored to be able to honor them. And then from an intellectual scholarly pursuit, to be able to work with the fellows on helping to define the concept of Black teacher lineages. And is that full circle? Or am I tagging you, Amina?
You can tag me. Yeah. Okay. So I am so excited. I think, but mainly what I'm going to be focusing on, obviously, is supporting all of the work that we're doing here. This connects directly with the early action grant for exploratory research that we received through the National Science Foundation. So the National Science Foundation is funding our work here. And one of the things that the part of that grant was to look at the practices of Black women teachers who graduated from our programs at Sacramento State, and look at, what were the equity pedagogies, culturally responsive pedagogies that they learned that helped them to persist in the field and to help Black girls develop computational thinking skills. So that was the initial focus of the grant. And part of what we wrote into the grant was an opportunity for professional development. Initially, we thought this would be to sort of increase the pathway for just at Sac State. We needed to get more Black women into the field. I have taught there for 5 years, and in the course of that my 5-year tenure at Sac State, I have had a handful, if that, of Black women students who have come through the program. And so, and that is, really just a terrible reality. And the women that have come through the program have spoken to the isolation that they have felt. So part of what ended up happening was we were kind of just brainstorming ways to even get more, folks involved and interested in the research. And we thought, and this was actually just riffing with me and Dale and Malika one day, and we were like, what if we did, some kind of professional development and opened it up, and, not just for Sac State people, and it could be during Black History Month, and, we could just put it out there in the world. Well, by putting it out there in the world, as they say, look at God, because that was just greater than what we had expected, right? The blessing of all of this, and the response has just been tremendous. And so we are beyond thrilled, beyond excited. So the first question, also, I wanted to say that, and we're going to talk a little bit more later about the Multicultural Education Conference and the work of that, and that is a free conference that all of you listeners we invite you to register for that, and we will share the link, a registration link in the description for this podcast. But part of the theme for that conference is Lifting as We Climb. And that comes from the work of the National Organization of Colored Women. Mary Church Terrell was a part of that organization. Ida B. Wells was a part of that organization, right? And these were Black women suffragists in the 1800s. So I actually went to, do a little bit in preparation for this conversation that we're having. I was like, let me just go to get some more information about that organization. And there was a quote that I was like, oh my God, this is so poignant and so profound in this moment. And it says, no race can afford to neglect the enlightenment of its mothers. No race can afford to neglect the enlightenment of its mothers. And that was Frances Ellen Watkins Harper who said that. And so that's what we're doing. We're trying to understand, how, our mothers, the Black women, and, our histories, and how it is that we come to enlightenment, how it is that we come to education, and our intellectual contribution to education and thought. And so the first question I have is, what was your impression of the applicants? And so I'm gonna do a reverse order now. So I'm gonna start with you, Dale, and then we'll whip back around to Malika. So what was your impression?
That is such a great question. They were excited. That was my first impression, that they were excited to be part of what we're putting together, because it felt like we were a drink of real cool water, right? That they weren't getting necessarily. And then some of them were trailblazers in their own right in this particular discipline, right? Black women educators, because of the work that they were doing. But all of them came with a real sharp background. And I guess because my focus is on Black teacher lineages, I want to say that I was excited to see that a number of them had that concept in their mind and were engaging that, right? They were describing their lineages in the application, proudly so. And they were not just like listing, like they were describing, this is who I'm coming from. This is the tradition in which, you know, the intellectual and pedagogical tradition in which I'm coming from, you know, and the gendered tradition, right? So I'm, that's my impression. That's my impression. I'm excited to see them.
I felt that it was coming from the heart. I felt it was very authentic. And this is actually great because it gives like an impression of positive spirit to be part of this, which is very beautiful, I think.
Igosa.
Yeah, I thought that there was such a like collectiveness in the applicants and what they presented, right? In terms of what they were seeing as a need, in terms of what they were invested in already in with researching Black women in education, and then being understanding of their own lineage with regard to that. So like there was something really beautiful about like the collectiveness that inspired all of these applicants to be part of this process, and seeing that kind of tied together within their applications was really, really amazing.
Malika.
I was very moved. There was, you know, a few times in my life that I felt moved in the same way. And one was when I was conducting research for my dissertation on the retention of Black teachers, and I put out my call for people to participate in the survey. And, you know, I started hearing back from Black educators nationwide, and it was a feeling of just like a rallying. And similarly, that's what I felt when I was able to, you know, see the number, the sheer number, and the talent and the intellect and experience and the spirit that came through from all of the applicants. It was like a rallying, a call for a rally, you know, for this collective. And it was very inspiring, very empowering and humbling to see the levels of experience that our applicants had in culturally responsive pedagogy and in, you know, Black educational thought. There is a wealth, you know, that I know that this group of participants will bring to the table. And, you know, I think that on a spiritual level, it is going to be a very powerful connection and reconnection of all involved.
Okay, so one of the things that and I echo everything that the sentiment that you all shared, and I think, you know, it part of what, because there was such a an excitement, because there was such expression of just their own experiences and the need for this, and the same feeling I identify with what you're saying. You know, it is very humbling, and it is really it's an emotional thing to be able to do something like this. You know, it's a spiritual thing as well, you know, because we are calling on our ancestors to help us to learn of what we need to do to move forward. right? And in our practice, and from each other, and building a collective to do that. And so as a result of that, one of the things that, you know, we can't do is say, you are not, you're rejected. Like, you know, no one is rejected from this. What we're doing is, obviously we have, you know, it's a finite amount of money, but that doesn't mean there's a finite amount of resources. So we have 25 fellows that we are able to provide, you know, monetary incentive for participation. But then we also are going to delve deeper into a symposium in which we are asking people to join with us to do some additional learning and some additional affinity building around these topics and on these issues. And that will happen on March 21st. So we're really excited about that. And we are going to be sending out those notifications to everyone as well to join us with that. And even if you weren't able to apply for the fellowship and you're still interested in participating in some way, you can definitely also register and join us for the symposium and the Multicultural Education Conference. But the next question I have is just like, who are these people? Like, you know, not specifically like their names, but who are they? Where do they come from? What are some of their backgrounds? What are some of their skills? What are some of the things that when you read about them that kind of made you like, yes, that's a person that I think, you know, definitely was a strong applicant because of, you know, some of what the contribution that they would make to Black women's educational thought. So I'm going to start this question with Maha because she just has more of the numbers, and then we'll kind of go into more our general feeling about what we learned about folks from their applications.
So I'm gonna start with the geographical distribution that we had, which is amazing because it kind of transforms the fellowship into an international one, because we have participants from Brazil and all over the country. So all over California, Sacramento, San Diego, San Francisco, Lodi. And then we have from Nashville, Tennessee, and specifically Vanderbilt University. We have participants from New Orleans, from Georgia, North Carolina, and Michigan. So it's technically all over the country.
That is so exciting, right? And so, and that geographical diversity, I think, is also going to be such an enriching conversation because people have such different experiences of what it means to be a Black woman or a Black woman educator, depending on where you are. But even though there's some commonalities of our experiences. All right, so Igosa, what did you think? Like, who are the applicants? What was your thought?
I think the thing that stood out to me just as an educator was how many applicants were in spaces where they were the only Black teacher or one of a few, and the common theme of isolation. And I that stuck out to me just because for me as an educator, this fellowship became even more important as it provides a space where there's support, where we're talking about people that look like us, where we're creating a space where we can kind of remove ourselves from the isolation. And so that's one thing that stuck out to me about the people applying. And then there are a few applicants who have already started to do this work, where they're already researching and looking and trying to highlight and elevate Black women who are in education. So that's what stuck out to me.
Malika.
Really impressed by the different positions held. While yes, you know, our goal was definitely to reach teachers in the field, you know, also people who applied and who were accepted, who were program coordinators, doctoral students, you know, administrators at one level or another, which to me is so exciting because the capacity in which they will carry, you know, their learnings and new knowledge and experiences can impact people on, you know, different levels, from students within their classrooms to, you know, whole schools, to districts, to, you know, universities. So I'm very excited about, you know, the different avenues and channels that this information will be able to reach all of the people through the different positions that the participants hold.
And then Dale.
Well, first I would say just exactly what Malika said in terms of the different um, places in the universe of education where folks are located. Again, nonprofits, admin, grad students, teachers, etc. So that's rich, along with the geographic diversity and so forth. And I would also say that there are also some males, right? There are other folks who are interested in acknowledging and uplifting Black women educators, because if we're really real about it, we know that these are the people who really, really raised us up, right, as Black women educators. And so even before doing my own lineage, I could recount the lineage of Black women teachers who I had coming up. And so, yeah, that's what I would say. There's that wide geographic, professional, but then also some gender diversity to show support and encouragement and desire to participate in the uplifting of the tradition.
Absolutely. And in addition to folks who identify as male and female, we also had non-binary applicants who applied to the fellowship. And I think that absolutely is, you know, speaks to the acknowledgement. And we had racial diversity as well. So we, in addition to folks identifying as Black, which, you know, was the primary identifier. We had folks who also identified as biracial. We have folks that identified as Latinx. We had folks that identify as white and also Asian. So it was just I think it speaks to the fact that a lot of people recognize the importance of centering Black women educators, and that is also something that is really, really inspiring. Which leads to the next question is like, why do you think this fellowship is important? And I'm gonna start with you, Igosa.
For me, this fellowship is important because I think often in a lot of spaces, Black women are overlooked. Our contributions are overlooked. And I think when you look at education, when you look at academia, you'll see a lot of other people who are elevated, who get credit, who are acknowledged. And so for this fellowship to kind of like peel back the curtain and show like the roots, show how far back the knowledge goes, how far back Black women have been contributors to the field of education, but, you know, contributors as a whole, I think is why this is so important. And I'm really excited about giving that visibility some space.
Well, I think it's very important because it will spread knowledge, very important knowledge that everyone needs to know. It will also add solidarity, and it will give importance and credit and right to everyone who has contributed in the past. So to be inspired in the future and to be empowered in the future. So this is why I think it's very important.
Absolutely. Malika.
So, you know, this experience to me, as I envision it, will be an affirmation of greatness, an affirmation of legacies of greatness and contemporary greatness. And, I'm coming, into this year, having just left teaching K-12 for 17 years, or teaching high school for 17 years. And I can't recall the number of conferences, workshops, etc., over 17 years where I could look into a room of 100, 200, sometimes 1,000 people and be able to count the number of Black educators on one or two hands, and, feeling just, really marginalized, to be a part of a group which, will exemplify the beauty of Black women, and it is developed by Black people for Black people. I mean, this is a FUBU moment in education, and it is so timely. It is so timely because it is time, past time, to affirm the contributions and the presence of this, population in education. And again, my mind just keeps going back to the incredible affirmation that this opportunity will provide of the importance, not only historically, but moving forward.
Absolutely. All right, Dale.
That's a great question again. And, I'll be cliche and just echo what everyone said, but in addition to that, I would come back and say, meaning what you were talking about when you invoke the ancestors, and it's us reaching to them. I actually, I know this from my research that it was them pushing me, and so I think that for me is one of the importances of this fellowship. I think that we are answering an ancestral call. All right. I think that the ancestors are pushing us very specifically in this direction of acknowledging Black women leadership, period, because that is the zeitgeist, right? I mean, I want to say I attended a fundraiser for Stacey Abrams at Barbara Lee's home in Oakland Hills when she was running for governor. Okay. And we know what went down there. But look at her at this moment. And she is one of the signposts of this zeitgeist. This fellowship is yet another one. I don't know the source and the origin. I can't speak to Stacey Abrams' narrative in that regard, but I know in this specific endeavor, this is our ancestors who are saying, you ought to do this, and for all these reasons that you all said, right? We're creating new knowledge, we're building community, we're affirming, and so ancestors are telling us to do this.
100%. I agree with everything that has been said. I also think that in building off of what the ancestors, we're in a very unique moment in history, right? And this moment is a very painful moment that we're experiencing because of the very abject, very clear, very distinct hatred and white supremacy that has, made it to center stage, right? And we have to then call on the folks that have dealt with that the most, right? Our ancestors, to help us as, again, and this is one to move forward because they were able to do it and they were able to see, as Dr. Angelo said, right? We are their hopes and dreams. Like, this is us coming to fruition. And so we're living that out in this moment to say, not only do we acknowledge that you survived for us, but we're hoping that we can learn from create a survival toolkit based on what it is that what you manifested, so that we can manifest that for our children, for our communities, for our society, which is in such dire need at this time. It's just on so many levels, it's so valuable, and so and a contribution. And so the other piece of it is that there isn't, since integration, Black teachers, really are very few and far between. So the reality is, they are also invisible in the literature, in the research. That has not been done. So our collective work, is such an important contribution to the field of education. We're building on work that has been previously done on Black intellectual thought. But when we think about Black intellectual thought, a lot of times we think of Black male educators like W.E.B. Du Bois, for example. Like, these are the people that we are constantly going to. And if I say someone like Mary Church Terrell, for example, people don't know who that is. And so even if, I try to say Google, who are some of the most important Black women STEM educators. And that's something that, is very hard and difficult to just find. Right. So these are, again, the hidden figures that we come to know after someone has died, if someone spends some time focusing on them. And we're hoping to bring together this community of Black women educators to create and learn from their experiences, with teaching and learning, and then also to do some collective research together on all of our collective ancestors, and then also what needs to be done and what can be done. So this is really exciting. All right, my next question is, what do you think that fellows should expect from this opportunity?
I think that fellows should expect a safe space, the space to voice experiences, to share joys, pains, tragedies, and triumphs, with like-minded individuals, and to hopefully, as we explore the various different components of the program together, to be inspired and enlightened. But what's most importantly standing out, the word that's jumping out to me is, this will be our space in which to feel free, to revel in all of our Blackness and all of the glory that that it entails. Mm-hmm.
Igosa.
I think that the fellows should expect a weightless space, right? We don't have the heaviness and the burden of all the things that come with being who we are. And I think the collective existence of this fellowship will also provide a space where we can all feel uplifted and loved for exactly who we are.
Maha.
Well, I think the fellows will expect, number one, wealth of important information that will be shared, a lot of interesting readings, and like Dr. Malika and Igosa said, a safe place to exchange ideas and learn from each other.
Absolutely. And Dale.
When Malika, you spoke, I could really see things in ways before I could actually hear things even. Then of course I remember we were in this digital environment, and that alters the way we'll call and respond, etc. And then I got really excited because what happens is that Black people innovate on these things really quickly. So we should expect to see, especially some STEM folk, right? So they should expect, I think, some real creativity happening, some real spontaneous creativity within this medium. I think the boundaries of what it can do will be pushed, and we're going to all learn something about that. But the other thing I think is that we're going to see a lot of concepts and ideas, intellectual ideas, echoed and amplified and repeated. And I think that from that is one of the places we're going to build knowledge and make knowledge about these experiences.
Absolutely. All right. And I think part of what you just said also connects to the next question, which is about what are you most excited about? So what are you most excited about when it comes to this fellowship? Dale, I'm going to ask you first.
Okay, I appreciate that. I'm not going to lie. I'm really excited in fleshing out this concept of Black teacher lineages. I think that we're going to get some really rich stories that are going to come, some memories that people are going to share. We're going to be moved and taken places in that regard. And I think we're going to get at a place of being able to say, this is the tradition. This is what Black teacher lineages are. We're going to be able to name that in ways that we might not have previously. And so I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited about that. And I'm excited about being able to both be a co-facilitator of that and also a witness of it, like playing itself out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Maha, what are you most excited about?
I'm very excited about this in order to bring people together and create the safe haven that we've talked about, and to be part of it and to learn from it. I am very much looking forward to share this space with everyone and to learn and to grow.
Absolutely. All right, Malika.
I'm right now, I started rereading Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl by Harriet Jacobs. And there are moments in that writing when she says, reader, if you can only feel or, understand, and there's a connection, with somebody who lived an unthinkable experience and survived. And those moments are brilliant to me. And I anticipate as we uncover lives and histories and pictures and visual images of educators from 1800s all the way up until now, that we will be awakening, the ancestors that we keep hearing the word over and over again, yeah. But we will be reopening and hearing them and validating, their struggle. And that's really empowering to me to be able to make that connection for us today with those whose lives have, left legacies in the past. So I am really excited about connecting with those lived experiences from the past, so that we can carry them out into tomorrow. And 100 years from now, hopefully our names will be the ones who are being spoken of in great light. I humbly hope that will be the case.
Beautiful. Wow. Igosa.
Yeah, I echo what everyone has said. And I would just add that I'm personally excited for the oral histories, and I'm excited to be in community with folks who are going to be celebrating Black women and giving them their flowers?
Oh my. My heart is so full. I am excited for a contribution. I think this is going to be such an important contribution. And it is really what decidedly what I want my life's work to be about. You know what I mean? I recognize that, life is very fleeting and nothing is promised, but that we have a legacy to uphold. We have a responsibility, and we have a contribution that we can make, and we are going to make it. And so I am profoundly grateful, for it, and I recognize that doors are opening, right? Because again, we started off with a very small idea, and even just the response has been so tremendous, and there's so much, the outpouring of love from the applicants and from people who were sharing. They weren't applying, but they were sharing, they were recommending their friends, or colleagues, and so on and so forth. Just that is just it's a community, and we haven't even started yet, but I feel this, that we are about to embark on something great. And so I'm very excited. The responses that we've gotten thus far from people is just very moving. The applications were very moving. People have gone through a lot. It's not easy being a Black woman in this country, and then trying to be a teacher or educator, or we just have so many things that we have had to deal with. And so to be able to contribute to the collective learning is a very important, a very, very profound thing that we're doing. I'm going to take a moment now to just talk about the Multicultural Education Conference and the Black Women Educators Symposium that is going to be an offshoot of that conference, that came as a result of us not wanting to, we wound up with like many more applications than we could have, resources for. And it was very difficult. So what we are trying to do is redirect people to the conference and to a contribution that they can still make, and still being in community with us, even though, maybe not through the full fellowship. So I want to, this question is more so for Dale, because Dale and I are co-chairs of the conference. So if you can, just chime in here and kind of give us a little bit of background on the conference and tell us all about that. And then that'll be great. And then I'll spend a little bit of time talking about the symposium piece.
Thank you for that. The Multicultural Education Conference at Sac State University is now, I believe, in its 27th year. So it has now close to a 3-decade-long tradition that was established by critical educators critical educators, largely of color, and some white co-conspirators as well, who were very much really in solidarity with each other. And they really moved as a crew through many different facets of their professional lives at Sac State. One outgrowth of that was this conference, to be able to maintain relationships with students that they had trained and then put out in the field, to convene critical multicultural education scholars and educators from around the country at Sac State. And it was, for a long time, largely a very grassroots, relationship-oriented, even with the national speakers, a very localized event. Now, Sac region is, substantial, so it's still brought in several hundred people every year. After its 25th year, it really took on a whole different flavor, still grassroots, still critical, still organizing. But somewhat like this fellowship, it's become truly a national conference and an international conference with multiple states represented every year, both in terms of the folks who come to speak, folks who propose sessions, and then even folks who come to attend. We've also, over the years now, broadened our relationships with critical education organizations as well. And so we went virtual last year, but I have to say, even in those early days of virtual education, we rocked it. We brought rhythm and flavor and multimedia components and really strong critical content. And we made that shift on a dime and still had several hundred people attend. And so we're continuing that tradition this year with Amina and I formally as co-chairs. We kind of ran it like that last year in a way, in terms of the hosting of the event. Amina did a fabulous job during the Q&A with our co-speaker or our keynote speaker at the time. So this year coming up will be a continuation of that, but obviously with the flavors of 21, right? And Amina, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, so very excited. So first of all, this conference is a virtual conference, as Dale pointed out. It is also free. So we do take, we do have some sponsors that have been supporting, and one sponsor of this conference this year is our grant, our National Science Foundation grant is sponsoring. So one aspect of the conference is that we are going to have our fellows present as one portion of the day, and it will happen on March 20th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. We are in the process now of just putting together the registration link. So all that information is going to be out very soon. Next week, we'll put that out into the world, and you'll be able to share the registration link with your with folks. Also, we are taking just online presentations. So if you're interested in presenting, we have a presentation applications for presenters that will be due February 15th. What we're doing is we're having folks post their work on our website. So we have a multicultural education conference website, so you can post like a PDF of your work or even a video. We're asking if you do a video to do that in Zoom, and Dale and I are actually going to do a promo video. He doesn't know that yet, but Dale, we're doing a promo video. Just so you know, FYI.
I'm shaking my head like I knew. Like, oh, we talking about me and you doing it? Okay, all right.
So we're doing a promo video. Like, check that out on your airwaves, and obviously, so that's for presentations, for presenters to come in, and also for folks to register and share and tell a friend. It's free. And our keynote speaker is Dr. Bettina Love. We are absolutely thrilled to have her. Dr. Bettina Love is the director of the founder and director of the Abolitionist Teacher Network. And she's just a profound, thinker, just really, her book, We Want to Do More Than Survive, is just a great book. If you haven't read it, you need to buy it. You should have bought it yesterday, but hopefully the shout out will make you buy it today. And definitely she's going to speak on that day. And to kick us off, in addition, as we spoke to at the beginning of our discussion today, our theme is Lifting as We Climb, which is directly coming from the National Organization of Colored Women. That was their motto, and it's the idea that we are climbing out of a COVID-19 pandemic, an anti-Blackness pandemic, white supremacy. We are climbing out of this muck and mire in this moment, and we have to lift each other up, right? So each one reach one, and that's the theme, and that's what Bettina Love is going to be speaking to. That is what our fellows are going to be speaking to. In addition, as I mentioned before, we're going to have another panel of critical race theorists. We're still getting those folks in line, but we're really excited about that, to have a critical race theory panel and then have our fellows present. So it's going to be a very important and dynamic day on March 20th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then we are also going to offer space on the 21st for to come together for affinity with the folks who applied that weren't able to receive the full fellowship, and our fellows, and then any other folks that want to work with us to Center Black Women in Education. And that will be March 21st from 1 to 4. It's a Black Women Educator Symposium. And so we will be talking about culturally responsive practices, some of the learnings that we've done, in our training that we're going to do during Black History Month with our fellows. We'll be sharing some of that together during that symposium, and very excited that this is coming together, that this is happening, that this is where we are, and it's a blessing. It truly is. It's truly a blessing. So, any last thing you want to share with our audience about the fellowship, about this work, anything that, question maybe that I didn't ask you that you feel like you want to answer? I'm just opening it up for that last moment sharing.
I will say one thing in closing.
Sure.
Just that, when we look upon our historical leaders, we see them as pillars of the community, and I want everyone that has not only been accepted into the fellowship, but anybody who has applied as well, to start envisioning ourselves as those pillars, and not to have to wait, or to wait in vain, for others to recognize ourselves as those pillars. I want that to be something that through the course of this fellowship is instilled deeply, if it's not already instilled deeply in the hearts of each and every participant. So I just look forward to this experience with humility and honor and respect to everybody who's involved.
Ashe.
All right. Anyone else want to have something they want to chime in? Okay, so I have to do a couple things for the podcast at this moment, because my team is going to kill me if I don't. So if you like this episode, please subscribe, to our podcast. Please do that. And you can follow us if you haven't already, Unhidden Voices on Instagram. Check us out there. More information about the conference, about, our other podcasts that we're going to be doing. We are, for the month of February, going to be centering and focusing on Black women as also as an output of this. And one of the focal areas of our conversation is Black women artists and the artistic contributions of this moment and this time. And so our first, and how we're documenting this moment through our artistry. So our first guest coming up next week is going to be Dr. Raina Leone, who is a poet and a writer. Very excited to interview her and to have her share some of her art with all of us. So please tune in to that episode. And again, we're looking forward, if you haven't already, you will share the information about the Multicultural Education Conference and register for the conference. And we look forward to our continued collaboration with all of you. And I want to thank my guests today, Igosa, Maha, Malika, and Dale. I'm so grateful to each and every one of you for this work, this collaboration. And I look forward to continuing this journey with you. This is so fabulous. And to our fellows, we are so excited to start this family with y'all. So looking forward to meeting each and every one of you. All right, bye everybody.